A grand total of 62 cars are lined up to compete at the Le Mans 24-hour this year. The grid will feature 13 auto manufacturers and 186 drivers racing out on track, and each of the cars are either classified in one of the three classes present: Hypercar, LMP2, or LMGT3. And if you want to find out about all the entries and drivers, you have come to the right place. So this is a complete breakdown of every single 2025 entry competing at the 93rd edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'll begin this entry list breakdown with the flagship category of the WEC, the Hypercar class, which will feature 21 entries, 8 brands, and 63 drivers competing in the category this year. First up on the Hypercar list are the 007 and 009 Aston Martin Valkyries from the Heart of Racing team. And by the way, the Valkyrie has never raced at the 24 Hours of Le Mans beforehand, so this is a new experience for Aston Martin and the American team. Piloting the 007 car will be Harry Tincknell, Tom Gamble, and Ross Gunn, while the 009 Aston Martin will be driven by Alex Riberas, Marco Sorensen, and Roman DeAngelis. Then comes 3 factory 963s from Porsche Penske Motorsport, the number 4, 5, and 6 cars. The number 4 Porsche is an invitational entry and not a part of the full season grid, and it will be piloted by Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, and Formula E World Champion Pascal Wehrlein. Then comes the number 5 car, which will be driven by Michael Christensen, Julian Andlauer, and Mathieu Jaminet, while the number 6 Porsche has drivers Kevin Estra, Lawrence Vantor, and Matt Campbell a part of the lineup. Following the 3 factory Porsches are the number 7 and number 8 Toyota Gazoo Racing entries. The number 7 car has a special livery which is to celebrate 40 years of Le Mans for the Japanese marque, and the red and white color scheme is a callback to the iconic livery on the Toyota GT1 at the 1998 Le Mans 24-hour. This particular Toyota will be driven by Kamui Kobayashi, Mike Conway, and Nick DeVries, while the number 8 car has drivers Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. Next, we have the first of the Cadillac V-Series R entries, which are the number 12 and number 38 Cadillac Hertz Team Jota cars. The number 12 entry will be driven by Alex Lynn, Will Stevens, and Norman Nato, while the number 38 has drivers Sebastian Bourdais, Earl Bamber, and 2009 Formula One World Champion Jenson Button. BMW M Team WRT are also back at Le Mans with the number 15 and number 20 hypercars, with Dries Vanthoor, Raffaele Marciello, and former F1 driver Kevin Magnussen in the number 15, while René Rast, Robin Freins, and Sheldon van der Linde are in the 20. Then we have the number 35 and number 36 Alpine A424 entries. In the number 35 will be Charles Malesi, Ferdinand Habsburg, and Paul Luchaton, while the number 36 car will have Frederick Makovicki, Jules Gounon, and finally Mick Schumacher. Moving on to the defending winners of Le Mans, Ferrari, who are back with 3 entries on the grid to challenge for the victory once more. The first 2 cars from the Italian marque are the factory number 50 and number 51 Ferrari AF Corsa entries. The winners from last year are back in the number 50. Antonio Fuoco, Miguel Molina, and Nicholas Nielsen are returning to get the victory once again, while the number 51 car will be driven by Alessandro Pierguidi, James Colato, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Next we have the yellow 499P, which is the number 83 AF Corsa car, driven by Robert Kubica, Yi Fi, and Philip Hansen. Next we have the number 93 and number 94 Peugeot 9X8 hypercars. Once again, the number 93 will be driven by Jean-Eric Verne, Paul di Resta, and Mikkel Jensen, while the number 94 has Loic Duval, Stoffel van Dorn, and Malte Jakobsen. Then we have the 4th Porsche 963 on the grid, which is the number 99 Proton competition car, and it will be driven by full-season racers Neil Johnny, Nicolas Pino, and Nicolas Veroni. Now, here's a team that's never competed in the hypercar class before, and is making their first appearance at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Wayne Taylor Racing. WTR is appearing at Le Mans with the number 101 Cadillac V-Series R, and it will be driven by brothers Ricky and Jordan Taylor, and they'll be joined by Portuguese racer Felipe Albuquerque. Finally, the last of the hypercar entries is a fourth V-Series R and another one from IMSA, which is the number 311 Whelen Cadillac from Action Express Racing. This particular V-Series R will be driven by Jack Aiken, Felipe Drugovich, and finally, Frederick Vesti. Moving on to the secondary prototype class at Le Mans, LMP2, which will feature 17 entries, one type of car, which is the Oreca 07, and 51 drivers competing in the category. First up in LMP2 are the number 9 and number 11 Proton competition Oreca 07s. The number 9 Iron Lynx Proton will be driven by Jonas Reed, Maceo Capito, and finally, Rashad DeJarus. Then the number 11 car from the German team will be driven by Giorgio Roda, Rene Binder, and finally, Bent Fiskel. Then comes the debut for RLR M Sport, as their number 16 Oreca 07 car will be driven by Michael Jensen, Ryan Cohen, and finally Patrick Pile. Then comes the most recent ELMS winners, EDEX Sport, and the number 18 and number 28 cars will be entered by the French team who are in collaboration with Genesis Magma Racing. The number 18 car will be driven by Jamie Chadwick, Matthias Eupert, and finally, three-time overall Le Mans winner Andre Lauderer. Then the number 28 car will be driven by Paul Fergu, Job Van Aert, and finally, Sebastian Alvarez. Another team that has 2 entries on the grid in LMP2 is United Autosports, and by the way, this is the team that won at Le Mans last year in this category. The team are bringing the number 22 and number 23 cars to the grid. The number 22 will be driven by Pietro Fittipaldi, David Hannemeyer Hansen, and Rolex 24 Daytona winner Renger van der Zande. Then the number 23 car will be driven by Daniel Schneider, Benjamin Hanley, and overall IMSA champion Oliver Jarvis. Nielsen Racing are also back at Le Mans with the number 24 entry, driven by Rolex 24 Daytona winner Colin Braun, as well as Naveen Rao and Chem Bullock-Bassi. Next up are the number 25 and number 45 entries from Algarve Pro Racing. The number 25 car will be driven by Theo Porcher, Matthias Kaiser, and Lorenzo Fluxa. Then the number 45 car will be driven by George Kurtz, Nicky Katzberg, and Alexander Quinn. TDS Racing also makes an appearance at Le Mans with their number 29 Oreca, planned to be driven by Rodrigo Salas, Matthias Besch, and finally Clément Novalek. Also on the grid are the number 34 and number 43 entries from 2023 winners here Inter-Europol competition. The number 34 Oreca 07 will be piloted by Nick Buell, Luca Giotto, and Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, while the number 43 will be driven by Tom Dillman, Jakub Schmiekowski, and Nick Uloli. Then we have the number 37 CLX Pure Racing Oreca, and by the way, this team was formerly known as Cool Racing at Le Mans. The number 37 car will be driven by Tom Blomqvist, Alex Malikin, and Tristan Vautier. Next up, we have the number 48 VDS Panis Racing entry, and the French Oreca 07 car will be piloted by Oliver Gray, Esteban Masson, and finally Frank Pereira. Alongside Proton competition, AF Corsa are the only other team at Le Mans that will feature entries in all 3 categories. Here in LMP2, the Italian team will have the number 183 Oreca in the event, piloted by Francois Perotto, Mathieu Vaxivière, and finally Antonio Felix da Costa. Concluding the LMP2 class is a fan-favorite entry, the number 199 AO by TF Spike. And in 2025, this car will be driven by PJ Hyatt, Louis Delatraz, and Dane Cameron. Finally, let's move on to the LMGT3 class, which features 24 entries, 9 car brands, and 72 drivers on the grid. The list begins with the number 10 Racing Spirit of Lehman Aston Martin Vantage, which will be piloted by Derek de Boer, Valentinus Claw, and Eduardo Barrichello. Then there's a very special livery on the grid, which is the number 13 AWA Racing Corvette. And this car is special because it's coming over from IMSA after winning the Bob Aitken Award last year. For the Canadian team's debut at Le Mans, their Corvette Z06 will be piloted by their IMSA racers Auré Fadani, Lars Kern, and Matthew Bell. Next are 3 AF Corsa Ferrari 296 entries, the number 21, the number 54, and the number 150. The number 21 entry will be piloted by Francois Ario, Simon Mann, and Alessio Rivera, while the number 54 car will be piloted by Thomas Floor, Davide Ragon, and Francesco Castellecci. Meanwhile, the number 150 Richard Mille AF Corsa Ferrari will only appear at Le Mans and have a driver lineup of Lilu Wadu, Castido Todolito, and finally Riccardo Agostini. Then there's the number 27 Aston Martin Vantage from the Heart of Racing team, and alongside their hypercar participation, the American squad will also compete in LMGT3 at Le Mans with a driver lineup of Ian James, Mattia Drudi, and finally Zachary Robichon. Moving on to the two BMW M4 GT3 Evos on the grid from Team WRT. The number 31 Benz-sponsored WRT M4 will be driven by Yasser Shahin, Timur Bogoslavsky, and Augusto Farfus, while the number 46 BMW will be driven by Abed Al-Harti, Calvin van der Linde, and finally 7-time MotoGP champion Valentino Rossi. Next up, we have the number 33 and number 81 Corvettes from TF Sport. The number 33 Corvette Z06 will be driven by Ben Keating, Johnny Edgar, and finally Daniel Huncadea, while the number 81 car is set to be piloted by Tom Van Rompuy, Rui Andrade, and Charlie Eastwood. Next up is another Ferrari on the grid, which is the number 57 Kessel racing car, which will be driven by Daniel Serra, Takashi Kimura, and Casper Stevenson. And by the way, this will be Kessel's first appearance at the 24 Hours of Le Mans since 2023. Moving on to the number 59 and number 95 United Autosports McLarens. The number 59 car will be driven by James Cottingham, Gregoire Saucy, and Sebastian Boe, and this car will also have a special livery on it. Meanwhile, the number 95 McLaren will be driven by Darren Leon, Sean Galel, and Marino Sato. Moving on to not one, not two, but three Mercedes AMG GT3 cars on the grid. And by the way, this is Mercedes' first appearance at Le Mans in more than 2 decades. The Iron Lynx have brought the number 60, 61, and 63 Mercedes cars to Le Mans. The number 60 car will be driven by Andrew Gilbert, Fran Rueda, and finally Lorca Hannafin. Then comes the number 61 entry, which will be piloted by Martin Barry, Lynn Houdinius, and finally Maxime Martin. Finally, there's the number 63 car, which is here because the team won the ELMS championship last season. And this car will be piloted by Stefan and Brenton Grove, and they'll be joined by Lucas Stoltz. Next up, we have the return of the Ford Mustang GT3 as the number 77 and 88 Proton competition cars return. Proton's number 77 car will be driven by Bernardo Sousa, Ben Tuck, and Benjamin Barker, while the number 88 Mustang will be driven by Dennis Olsen, Gianmarco Lavorado, and finally Stefano Gattuso. Then we have the return of Lexus, with the RCF GT3 likely making its last appearance at Le Mans. The French squad of Akotis ASP are bringing 2 Lexus entries. The number 78 car will be driven by Arnold Robon, Jack Hawksworth, and Finn Gersitz, while the number 87 car is planned to be driven by Petro Umberesco, Clemens Schmidt, and finally 2021 overall Le Mans winner Jose Maria Lopez. Now, besides Ferrari and Mercedes, Porsche also have at least 3 cars in the event, which are the number 85, number 90, and number 92 Porsche 911 GT3R entries. First up, we have the number 85 Iron Dames Porsche, which will be driven by Rahul Frey, Celia Martin, and Sarah Bovey, as unfortunately Michelle Gadding had an injury and can't compete at Le Mans. Then we have the number 90 Manthey Racing Porsche, which will be driven by Klaus Bachler, Luke Hartog, and Antares Al. Then we have the last of the 911s, which is the number 92 First Form Manthey Porsche, which will be driven by Richard Leitz, Ryan Hardwick, and Ricardo Pera. Finally, we have the 62nd and last entry at Le Mans this year, the number 193 Zigo Sport Tempesta Ferrari, which will be driven by Jonathan Huey, Christopher Frogat, and finally Edward Cheever. So that completes a breakdown of every single entry competing at the 2025 24 Hours of Le Mans. Out of all the cars that are racing this year, which one will you be supporting? Well, be sure to let me know all your thoughts in the comments below.